Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I would like first to share my screen. The introduction has been done. As stated, I'm one of the HR practitioners in Zambia, and the president of the Zambia Institute of Human Resources. So to start with, yeah, this is, I think, let me just go on the actual, what was given to us to share with you as Texila University is the power of flexibility. How do we maximize employee efficiency? So two issues there that we really need to understand: flexibility and maximization of employee efficiency. We haven't gone to try to take probably what is in the textbook, but we have tried to prepare this paper from the practical experience. Of course, I know as the participants, you also know about the issues that we'll be talking about today, but we'll just be reminding ourselves about this. And also as one way of giving to our practitioners, professionals, entrepreneurs out there something from Texila University. Already the background has been given. What we're going to cover today is I'll take you through the introduction. I'll take you through the working definition. I'll take you through the triggers of flexibility, how to maximize employee efficiencies, and then we'll conclude and I'll have my closing remarks. In terms of, hello?
Yes, Mr. Muka.
Yes, okay. I'm used to Teams to where people, I can see who is raising the hand or not, but I'll just continue.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so in my introduction, as I have said, colleagues,
okay.
We didn't want to borrow anything from in textbook, but trying to understand the topic at hand and use our practical knowledge to expand or to explain what we know about the topic, the power of flexibility. So in the introduction, what we are saying is that every organization's goal is to maximize its market share and grow its business. And because certain organizations are not profit-making, they are not in the issue of probably transacting business as we know it. I've said to incorporate everyone, we have said in our context, what we mean is that business is anything which is a prime mission to the organization. So this will cover an NGO, it will cover a non-NGO, but what we are talking about is that there should be the flexibility that will lead to employee efficiency, and that it cuts across all the organizations. We have said what is important, instead of looking probably at profit or none of it, what we have agreed, what we have said here is that we'll look at growth. You agree with me that whether it's a non-profit organization or or a profit-making organization, every organization has to grow. So when we talk about the power of flexibility and how employee efficiency is to be maximized, then we talk about growth of an organization where we work. We were saying these take place in an environment which most cases might be stormy or at times a tsunami environment. So what I'm talking about here is that the business operates in an environment that is not certain. Things can change by the day, by the week, or by the month. But then the key issue is, how are we going to use the power of flexibility to maximize employee efficiency? So we have said sometimes even when it's very quiet, there's still an undercurrent which can lead to a shipwreck. And we have said this shipwreck means the company not doing well, the organization not doing well, an NGO closing, a bank closing its branches or reducing its operations, and maybe another company just being taken over. We are saying this is what we mean by a shipwreck. So it doesn't mean that when there's good industrial relations in the country, then all is going well. So we have said the organization must survive. Whatever organizations we are in must survive. And as such, we must put on a defense. I'm calling this the breastplate of flexibility, you know, so that we can navigate ourselves in the environment in which we are, and we anchor that towards employee efficiency. I've given another term here, the power of flexibility. This again, we may not get it anywhere, but from our experience, and for the purpose of this presentation, I thought it was going to help us. So we are saying power of flexibility. This is a working definition. To us, as we understand it, is the ability and the speed at which a company, an organization, an undertaking is able to change its gears. Yeah, gears in this case, changing its strategies, and they still remain focused on its subordinate goals, even in the wake of rapidly changing terrain. So what we are saying is that a power of flexibility here is the ability of any organization to change when there is an unfamiliar, when they find themselves in an unfamiliar territory, but still continue with their focus on their anticipated objectives. And then we are trying to say, what is employee efficiency? Of course, when you talk about efficiency, it is always included with effectiveness. So we have added a bit of the efficiency so that as we go through this discussion, efficiency actually will be added to effectiveness to mean employee productivity, is what was said in the introduction. That vehicles the organization in a planned destination. So that's the meeting of organizational KPIs. So we are talking about this employee efficiency is the productivity that will make the organization achieve its organizational KPIs. We have still continued with the definition. I'll go quickly through it. That this will be their action or capacity to quickly change course of direction at the initial instance of a red flag. This happens to most organizations that survive. You'll find, I'll talk about it briefly later, like we are in a COVID situation and you are in the airport business. So what do you do when no more flights are being allowed into the country? So that capacity to quickly change course of direction and do other things is what we are talking about as flexibility here. And the power that you have to change that will influence the efficiency or the productivity of your employees. Let's talk about the COVID that we are now. People are changing from going to the branches to doing electronic transacting. Those who have got cards, some banks are even producing what is called touchless card. So all this is flexibility. Those who fail to have this power of flexibility will normally also fail to continue with their business. I have seen a few shops that have been closed here in Zambia. I've seen a few organizations that have been closed here in Zambia. I have seen even some international hotels that have closed. And at the same time, I have seen other hotels which are just open to restaurant facilities and they're still getting something. So we are saying this flexibility, yeah, it can be through your processes. You can see it in your processes. You can see it through your systems. You can see it through your procedures or even the technology, and they will define the way in which you operate. We are saying this flexibility will also touch on the human capital, because the human capital or the employees, as we are talking about, their efficiency and so forth, is the one that if you put your total total capital together, if you take their qualifications, their competencies and so forth, those are the ones that will give you the efficiency that you talk about. Having tried to explain our understanding of the power of flexibility and how it may improve employee efficiency, the question that comes in mind is then, what triggers flexibility? Does it just come like that? Everything is okay, then you change things and say, oh, I'm trying to be flexible. People say, if it's not broken, don't change it or don't maintain it. So in this case now, there should be something that should trigger us as an organization to move and look at a different strategy so that we remain afloat. Technological changes is one of them. You can see technology is changing. If you don't change, then it means you won't be successful in your business. People want mobile banking, and you are still with traditional banking. They won't go to your bank. I've given an example there of Kodak. Remember last time we used to say, how are we calling them? That 12 exposure. This is 16 exposure and so forth. Eh? Then the cameraman will tell you, oh, my film is finished. Yeah, you can imagine if they just continue with that, they'll completely be out of business, because now there's digital embracement. You can do it on your phone, you can do it. If you have checked, there was that time of buying cameras, then there were video cameras, everyone wanted to have it. Now no one even cares about a video camera because they can use their phone. Also changes in customer tests. They'll require you to be flexible and think of your strategy. If you talk to the young ones now, you'll see them wearing torn jeans and so forth, and they'll tell you a jean is a jean. It can only be said a torn jean, a faded jean, and so forth. So the customer taste can change. If you remain with the tight trousers, pants that we used to wear in the early 70s, as if you are James Brown, you won't sell. We are also saying there are pandemics such as COVID-19 where we are now. You can imagine the way it's devastating the whole world. If you don't make any flexibility, then you are gone. For the banks, for example, where I work at the moment, there are a lot of flexibility that we have done in terms of human capital so that we continue maximizing employee efficiency. We have gone to an extent of things like in the branches, people rotate, one team goes home, maybe for a week, the other team remains. So that if someone catches COVID, that one who is in the team that has caught COVID, they'll go home for isolation and treatment if they are also positive to COVID. And then the ones which were home, will come and continue working. And that way you continue maximizing the efficiencies of your employees. Then we are talking about the rapid changes, forcing the business and human capital to react to such an anticipate change at all times and lead change. Change will always be there and do not be rigid to change. Failure to lead change may lead to what I've called here a business strength smash, where your business will completely close. I'll quickly move through this. I'm talking about entry of important key rivals. Here we are, like where we are in Zambia with our small supermarkets. Then the South African markets came, game stores, ShopRite. What do? You have to, that will trigger flexibility. I've also talked in terms of the products and also need for being customer centric. Let me now talk about the red ocean competition. When the competition is very tough, I have seen talking about small shops. At every corner of the road, there's a small shop, all fighting for the same market. What do? You have to find a way of navigating through this red ocean competition. This is stiff competition for you to survive. I have said in these red oceans, there are sharks, there are whales, there are waves, strong waves, storms. There are deep dark waters. If you check in there, you get scared. That is a stiff competition. What did you do? When I was working for the telecoms, we had Airtel, the local one, Zamtel, and MTN. It was a red ocean competition. If you go to sleep, your members will find that your competitors would have moved one or two steps ahead of you, and it will be very difficult for you to catch them. So all these and other issues will demand that we need to be flexible. And more important, we have said, if an organization believes in its people, believes that they can bring those competitive advantages, that efficiencies can be improved, then you trigger that. Let me now talk about this power of flexibility and how we can maximize employee efficiency. I have already talked about efficiency. That let's summarize it as simply productivity. So the power of flexibility vis-a-vis maximizing employee efficiency, we are going to look at it in two ways. there's a perspective or a look from the employer's side or employer's view. And in this case, the employer will be represented by management. There'll also be an issue where we can look at how to maximize employee efficiency at the actor himself or herself, the employee, the human capital that gives us the wealth for the organization. So we are saying we also look at the distinctive competences that a company that represents a company's superior resource. So distinctive competence is also very, very important. I'll explain what competence is. If you have a doctor graduating with a distinction today, same university, same class, and another person also graduating at the same time, same distinctions and so forth. They go to the hospital, but their performance, their efficiency is completely different. What leads to that? How come the other one's efficiency is low and the other one's efficiency is high? How come the other one's productivity contribution to the company or to the hospital is low while the other one is high? How come patients will say, I prefer to deal with Dr. X and Dr. Y? The reason for that are what we are calling our competences, and in this case, a distinctive competency, the one that will give us a competitive advantage over our rivals. I've already talked about the management. So we have talked about that we are going to look at it at 3 levels: the management aspect of it, the employees aspects of it, and the competences that we need to maximize employee efficiency. So let us now look at the management perspective. If we want to maximize employee efficiency, then as management, we should allow a culture that conforms to the employees maximizing their efficiencies. And such culture is what we are calling here as a culture of performance excellence. From the board to EXCO, MANCO, to the employee on the shop floor, they should be able to understand this culture of performance. If this is not there, no one would care whether the targets are met or whether the targets are not met. Sorry to say this, but this is sometimes the case in the public sector, especially where we purely believe that everything belongs to the government. Even if you destroy the thing, no one cares. I'll give a very crude example of where someone does not even report for work, but at the end of the month, he's the first one to say, our salary is in. And this happened, I'm sorry to say it, it happens mostly in the public sector, more especially in the civil service. A friend of mine from Kenya told me that in Kenya, they have made a lot of differences because even the minister will have a strategic plan and the strategic objectives, and he will be assessed by that. If we can bring the private sector mentality also in the public sector, then we'll be able to maximize employee efficiency. But this means we should have a culture of performance excellence. The other issue that we are talking about is that if the employees, I'm now talking to the employers out there, if you want to maximize your employee productivity and grow your business and beat competition and make profit or grow your organization, if it's a church, you are growing the number of your members. If it's a club, you are growing the number of your members and so forth. You need to allow your employees to make mistakes. Yes, zero defects is something that is good in as far as productivity is concerned, in as far as total quality management is concerned. We want zero defects. But if you preach too much on that one and you are allowing your employees not to make mistakes, they'll fear to innovate. And the power of flexibility will be lost. And you won't be able to maximize their efficiency. Remember, you can have all the technology that you want. You can have all the buildings that you want, but your rival can get the technology that you have. Yeah? If you are using a Lenovo or laptop, your rival can also buy the same. If you are using Open Plan Office, your rival can also use the Open Plan Office. But if you have employed Mocha, there's only one Mocha that can be employed at a time. So competitive advantage comes from the employees that you have, comes from the human capital that you have. So allow them to make mistakes while you are embracing zero defects or total quality management. If you do that, they'll surprise you. In fact, some people say, tell your employees what to do, but don't tell them how they should do it. If you leave that flexibility, then you'll be surprised the results that will come from them, because they would have used their innovation competences to an extent that they have maximized their thinking, they have maximized their efforts, they have maximized their capabilities, they have maximized their concentration, they have maximized their focus to that which you have given them. So please allow the employees a freedom to make mistakes. But this should not be the end in itself. Yes, continue making mistakes. No. What we are saying is let them explore. Once they have found a mistake, quickly resolve that mistake and move forward. Mistakes should not be repeated, but should be a learning point. I've already talked about this embracing. I think I've written it twice. But what I've said here is, let your employees bend their fingers. But they should realize that they have jumped out of the, I think actually I should have said, they should realize that they have jumped into the fire. And the possibility that they can be completely bent. In this case, I'm saying the mistakes that people make can cost people their employment, but they should come out and make strategic corrections. And these strategic corrections should be for sustainable growth. So with this thing, if the employer embraces this type of perspective, is likely to reap more and more from the employees. For employee efficiency or productivity would have been improved or maximized. Actually, the other employers want the employees to feel that they are the owners of the company. The employers are the owners of the company. So it will be like the way supporters of football are. You know, you are a supporter, but you feel very bad for your business, for your team to lose. That should be the spirit that the employees should also have, and the employers should do that by allowing the employees to explore. Then we cannot talk about some of these things, do what I say, but not what I do. That is bad management. That is not real flexibility. Show by an example. That's why you are called a leader. That's why you are called a manager. What are you managing if you are not giving an example? You should be an example yourself. If I need to divert a bit from business to Christianity, our Lord Jesus Christ led by exemplary behavior. He even washed his disciples' feet. That's the type of a leadership that the management of any organization must have. If you lead by example, people will follow you. I have put something there, not very sure of the spelling, but it's something that sometimes here in Zambia talk about. They say Shumbu Mushololwa. Yeah, that talks about the rigidity that certain leaders have. Such rigidity leads to throttling the employee initiatives. So the employees will just wait. Like I had watched at one time a movie on The Gods Must Be Crazy. I don't know if it is still there. This employee is just waiting to be given instruction by the boss. The boss says, catch that man. Yeah. This employee goes, catches the man. Then he said, what do I do next, boss? Say, arrest him. He arrests him. What do I do next, boss? Wow. I'm telling you, if that's the environment in your company, the employees will never maximize their skills. They'll never maximize their knowledges. They'll never maximize their efforts, and will miss out from the employee efficiency. So what I was talking about here when I was giving the local idiom is that you can't bend a sweet potato. If you try to bend it, it will just break. So as leadership, if you have to maximize employee efficiency, you should dwell on the power of flexibility. Don't be like a sweet potato, whereby if you try to strengthen it, it will break. And then we have said, provide the tools and the space for innovation. Innovation is trending at the moment. Fail to innovate and you'll be eaten by that whale that I was talking about. fail to innovate, you drown in that dark sea that I was talking about with black waters, you even get scared. Fail to innovate, you will be charred in that water, in the fire that I was talking about. So don't come to the employee and say, I want you to maximize your efficiency when you haven't given them the tools. How do you expect someone to drive a car without fuel? Exactly, that's what you are doing if you are not providing tools for your employees to innovate. Give them space again. Don't be saying, I told you to do, what have you innovated on today? How long is it going to take you? Give them space. Provide them tools. If it's laptops, give them the laptops and so forth. And you'll be amazed with what type of innovation will come in. And that way, you'll be able to maximize employee efficiency. So be flexible enough also to recognize your employees. I was talking about football. Can you imagine the players? Of course, we are a supporter of Liverpool. I'm sure from my participants, they are also supporters of Liverpool as well. And probably Manchester United, who seem to be our rivals. For what reason, I don't know. So one of the Liverpool supporters, to digress a bit, they are saying, this Manchester United, they call themselves Man U, but they have not been winning trophies for a long time. So they have moved from Man U to Boy U. So, ladies and gentlemen, what am I trying to say? When the players are playing, there's even what we call home ground advantage. They will be cheered by the supporters. There will be that extra player from the terraces, and the employees, the players will be motivated coming from 4 goals down to about 5 or so and beat Barcelona to move on. So there should be some recognition that the employees are doing something. You're allowing your employees to innovate, but you give them nothing in return. Then you kill the spirit for the employees to maximize their efficiencies. So have things like, sometimes it's just saying, thank you, you have done a good job. Sometimes it could be monetary. Sometimes it's just putting somewhere where we say, anyone who achieves some certain feats, will put that name in the Hall of Fame. Who wouldn't want to be part and parcel of being in the Hall of Fame? If you do that, then the employees will surprise you with a high productivity that will grow your business, that will make you be outstanding in your industry, that will make you have a competitive advantage, that will make you, as a company, in inverted commas, be in the Hall of Fame in your industry. And then we say, please, if you cannot measure anything, don't do it. That's what some people say. So even you as an employer, us as management, as leaders, we must set the SMART objectives. Of course, we all know the acronym of SMART objectives, so I won't go very much in that. But to emphasize on how we can maximize employee efficiency, on the flexibility of the employer, there should be some objectives shared with the employee. The employee knows what you as the employer you want to achieve, and you will be partners in maximizing the employee efficiency. I'll put a question there. Top management should be ready to enhance flexibility. If they don't do so, the fruits of maximizing employee efficiency will be but just a dream. It will be a pie in the sky. Who will eat it? It will never come. So we are saying, in fact, If you don't have this flexibility allowed to your employees, you just instill a very nervous energy. Someone say will be typing and is scared. They'll have doubt and they'll have lack of confidence because these are your soldiers. Now you can imagine if you instill lack of confidence in your soldiers, how are they going to fight a war and let alone win the war? On the employee side, we have talked about how the employer can use the power of flexibility to get the best out of the employees in order to stay afloat, in order to grow the business, in order to have competitive advantage. How about the employee? The employee is in the center stage. There's the company, there's management. Then the employee is that person who scores. The employee is the Ronaldo of Barcelona. The employee is that one who now finally puts the ball in the net and we say, it's a goal because we have made profit. So the employee should not have fear of making mistakes. Just do it. Just do it. Let the employees, I know we are talking about, when we talk about vintage, we are talking about different age groups. Maybe those in my age group will be a bit scared of making mistakes. But look, the millennial, the Z generations that we have now, the Z generations, they want to explore. So employees out there should not fear to make mistakes. Just do it. If you have made a mistake, as we have said, when we are talking about employer perspective, correct it strategically and move on. Then we have said the employee should run with time. The employee should run with time, but not ahead of time. That's what we're talking about. What does this mean? You need to be strategic enough. Move ahead of everyone else. I have something that I always tell to my family members, and most of the time we are using it in our WhatsApp family group. Tomorrow, our today, TOT. Employees, if you have to maximize your efficiencies to the benefits of the employer and to the benefits of yourself as one of the people who is sharing in the profits of the organization through your salary, through the other benefits you are given like medical care, through the bonuses that you are given, you should be ahead of everyone else. What the other people do today, you should do what they should do tomorrow. Then you are ahead of them. Then you should also fully believe in the culture of performance. If you have gone for work, you should be ashamed if you haven't done anything. To reach home, your friend asks you, your brother asks you, your sister asks you, your mother or your father asks you, what have you done today? And you have done nothing. You should feel guilty. So this power of flexibility, we should be able to move from where we are now to 100% plus, completely drowning in the culture of performance. I want to do it. I want to achieve. I want to beat not only the target that I've been given, but even my own target. Remember the runner, was it Usain Bolt? Beating his own target because he was the fastest man in the world. So if he had to compete with others, he knew he was still going to win. but he had to beat his own target. I won, yes, the Olympics here, but this was the time. Can I set a new world record? That is what should be with the employees if we have to maximize the employee efficiencies. We should also say, let us embrace productivity. Understand and strive for total quality management. Remember, the customer out there won't accept something of low quality. After all, something of low quality is also of low value. So why should your business continue producing things of low value, which gives you low income, which will also lead you to getting a low salary? But in a country where the inflation is very high. So please understand all these concepts. I had talked about the power of flexibility in three perspectives: the employer's perspective, the employee's perspective, and also the competences. I had tried to explain a bit about the competences when I was talking about those doctors, remember? But then, how do you maximize employee efficiencies? Is it the matter of just recruiting someone and they call that person, call him or her an employee, and then you are able to maximize employee efficiency? The answer is completely no. If someone is carrying $0 and he wants to give, the only thing he can give to someone is also $0. So we cannot talk about the power of flexibility in terms of improving productivity if we don't have competences that will lead to that productivity, that will lead to the efficiency and the effectiveness in which we operate, the efficiency of our systems, the efficiency of our technology, the efficiency at which we respond to customer queries. So one of them is achievement orientation. These are some of the issues that are inborn. I know people are saying, oh, this one is a high achiever. There are people who are born, whose personality, whose traits are not achievers. One person, the difference between an achiever and a non-achiever or an average performer is that an average performer will come for work and wait to be given work. A high achiever will come for work and start working on something before he or she is given some other assignments. He's always concerned with the results they want to achieve. If we have such competences, then we'll be able to maximize employee efficiency. Then we are talking about an employee who has self-confidence. I'm telling you, the innovation we are talking about, the culture that we are talking about cannot work if we have employees who are actually apologizing for being employees of your organization. There's no efficiency that you can maximize from such employees. So take an employee who has self-confidence, someone who has analytical thinking and conceptual thinking. Analytical thinking in this case is that power for the employee to analyze the situation at hand and they come up with a solution that will help you solve a problem that will lead to high productivity, a problem that will lead to improved employee efficiency. The if-then, that's what we are talking about here. Conceptual thinking, on the other hand, is what we call in the layman think innovations. We are talking about flexibility here. Even if we talk about the power of flexibility, but our employees can't innovate, even if we give them tools and the space, forget about it. And then they should also be, they should have the competence of organizational awareness. Yeah, I remember locally, I invited a friend of mine to go with me and watch soccer or football as others call it. And this friend of mine did not even know which teams we are playing. So you can imagine, you don't know the teams that are playing. I've said I'm a Liverpool supporter, but I don't even know what Liverpool is all about. So maximizing on employee efficiency means that employees should have the ability to be aware, total aware of their organization, and then they should have commitment to achieve that which their organization wants. Above all, I've talked about integrity, teamwork, and team leadership. I didn't complete that one. That should be team leadership. We have been talking about the power of flexibility. You know, flexibility is not just a word, it's a competence. So the employee himself should have this competence of when things are not working well, find another way of achieving the same thing. So have a competence of flexibility. As I end our sharing with you, my colleagues, I'll say there are benefits. I have already talked about some of them or most of them as we were covering the employer perspective, the employee perspective, and the competences that the organization or the employer should be looking at if it has to to maximize employee efficiencies. So we are saying the benefits are that we will have business continuity in a storm environment. We are saying there's COVID. COVID has affected everyone, the whole world, countries, all the large economies, the small businessman, the big businessman. But if we have this power of flexibility, and with this power of flexibility, we are able to enhance employee efficiency, there will be survival. Right now, the other day, I went to Protea Hotel. I had my lunch. But at the same time, a 5-star hotel, Pamos, which is just near my working place, is closed. Waiting for the COVID to come to an end. When is the COVID coming to an end? That's $1 million question. So there will be that business continuity if you believe in the power of flexibility and the maximizing of employee efficiencies. You also become the employer of choice. People know, even in a stormy environment, my job is still assured. Good employers, good talent with rare skills, they will come to your organization and they grow your organization. And now you even do your employer branding. Everyone will be talking about your company. Is that not a benefit? About high employee engagement. I've already talked about organizational awareness and organizational commitment. When someone is watching football, others even kick their legs. Don't be near them. They are fully engaged. That's the benefits that you get from what we have now. We have talked about the competitive advantage, the skills, the competences of your employees that will help you beat your rival, and having employees who are self-confident. Then we are talking about that if this is happening, remember they say the customer is always right, the customer is queen, the customer is king. You'll be able to know what your king wants. You'll be able to know what your queen wants. And be customer centric. Satisfy the customers and they will still be coming to you. And we are talking about business growth. You also have employees who are competent. And most of all, the work-life balance. Because if we are talking about the power of flexibility, like I had said, rotational rotationals being done in some companies now. Yes, 5 days you are working, 5 days you are at home. You are able to chat with your family. Or you are doing telecommuting. You are using Teams, but you are at home. Work balance is improved. But I should put a note here that if we have to manage this employee efficiency, maximize the employee efficiency, there should be a way in which we should be able to measure the productivity of the employees. To conclude, I have said flexibility has the power to improve employee efficiencies that leads to accelerated growth of an organization. But I've given a disclaimer there, provided a right environment is given. And once that is given, we'll be able to move forward. Therefore, as management, as employers, as employees, let us all embrace flexibility and employee efficiencies. And I have put what I told you is part of the things that I share with my family. And since today we have shared on this topic, you are also my family. I say, let us practice this motto, tomorrow, our today. And my signature, I borrowed this from somewhere. It says, I always conclude like this, and I'll still conclude like this. Nothing will change unless you change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Muka. It was indeed a very informative session. Dear attendees, if you have any questions, you can kindly post it in the chat box. Meanwhile, kindly take up the poll before we could answer the questions. Dear attendees, I kindly request you to take up the polls. Once the polling is over, Mr. Muka will be able to answer the questions. Mr. Muka, we have a question for you.
Okay, thank you. I think if the questions can come quickly, I'm just being awaited for a board meeting almost in a few minutes time, but I'm available. Please, let the questions come.
Okay. The question is, the benefit of continuity in a stormy environment is very important. What's your advice to those who lost employment due to COVID-19 so that they may continue to be counted as efficient?
Thank you very much. Of course, there are a lot of people who lost employees. The hotel industry here in Zambia, a lot of them lost employees. But what I should just advise those who lost their employees is that they can, employment from a company is not the only type of employment that they can have. One of the things is to try to be to practice entrepreneurship. Let them do a little thing that they can make them survive, and they should continue with networking with those who are still in employment and keep closer to their professional bodies. One day, the storm will be over and they'll be able to find employment.
Thank you, sir. There is another question from Dr. Lakshmi. How to make our employees' mental health stable during this COVID-19 crisis?
Thank you very much. We need to work on the psychology of our employees. I'll share with you that at one time when we registered a case of one case of COVID-19, some employees could not even stay in the offices. They were all scared. So the mental stability is always one, give them the right information about COVID. How it is, what it is, how it is caused, how someone gets exposed, and most of all, assure them that there is still the light at the end of the tunnel. If they unfortunately test positive to COVID, there's still treatment. And most of all, assure them that they will never be discriminated against. So that way they will be mentally focused. And continue that communication, almost communicate with your employees almost on daily basis, and give them the PPEs, the hand sanitizers, the masks, and so forth. That will give them the confidence to show that the employer is with them, and the mental stability will be won't be affected. And most of all, for those who can afford, always have a talk. Employees hire an expert, a psychologist, or someone from the government, from the Ministry of Health who deals with COVID-19 to come and talk to them. Then that way their minds will be free.
Thank you, sir. We have one final question before we wind up the session.
Thank you.
Mr. Silimbu, I've learned a lot from your presentation, being an employee in the government as well as being an employer in my small business. What's your view on interpersonal interactions in the workplace and what impact it has on productivity, and what mechanism can I use to handle them objectively? That is, unfair treatment of subordinates by supervisors.
The question is mouthful. Could you summarize it or maybe repeat it?
Yeah, the question is in the chat box, sir. It is, what's your view on interpersonal interactions in the workplace and what impact it has on productivity?
Okay.
And what mechanism can I use to handle them objectively? That is, unfair treatment of subordinates by supervisors.
Okay, although I haven't gotten it, you are saying it's in the chat box?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to get it.
Okay.
Wow, I'm only seeing the, okay. It may not be answered to the best. With COVID-19, some employees are asked to stay at home. This is a different one. Anything else? This was doctor's thing and answered.
Yes.
The next question, I can't see it here. How to make an employee mental health? Okay, this was, yeah, another, again, let me check. Okay.
Yeah, I can take a question for you, sir.
Okay, they say, with COVID-19 ravaging, some employees are asked to stay at home. Is this the one? No. No, this is not the one, but I'll talk about it generally.
Yes.
The whole thing is about productivity. How are you able, even in this environment, to ensure that your employee still gives the best of herself or the best of himself and continue being productive? And in this case, I'm talking about organizational productivity as well as individual productivity. As I said, most of it is the conviction in the work culture that even in this, despite that my canoe has capsized, I can still swim ashore. So the confidence aspect of it is very important. It is also important to come up with a measurement tool that will give the employee and the employer what is to be achieved within a certain given framework. Because if you employ the performance management, especially the balance scorecard, where it's a shared process between the employee and the supervisor, then the productivity will still be improved. And then the other thing is, think about those little ideas which can give growth to the organization. So some people even form what are known as quality circles, where they are not paying anything like overtime, but the employees come together to think of innovative way of improving the business and improving their work.
Thank you, sir. We have several compliments that the session was informative and the presentation was excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your time and knowledge with us.
Thank you very much. You are all welcome.
Dear attendees, thank you so much for participating in the webinar. Thank you.